Your job title isn't going to protect you anymore. With market shifts, industry slowdowns, and AI taking over, adaptability is no longer a buzzword. It's a survival skill. And more than that, it's what differentiates those who survive from those who ultimately end up thriving in today's market. Most leaders talk about adaptability like it's a personality trait. But in the real world, adaptability is earned the hard way. That's when you find out who you are. Because when your industry slows down, when technology evolves like AI, and when demand moves somewhere else, you don't get evaluated on what you used to be. You get evaluated on what you're willing to become. And I've seen it over and over again in hiring, in operations, and executive leadership. The people who win long-term aren't always the smartest in the room. They're the ones willing to reinvent without lowering their standards. And from what I've observed, whether it's hiring someone, coaching, or watching someone pivot industries, the people who successfully rebrand themselves usually have three things in common. First, their ego is under control. They don't tie their identity to their last title. They're willing to take a step back, relearn, and trade their short-term status for long-term success. Second, they expand their skill stack. They don't argue with reality. When the market changes, they upgrade. New certifications, new tools, new capabilities. They build where demand is going and don't complain about what demand used to be. And third, they evolve without lowering the bar. Let me unpack this. Reinvention doesn't mean desperation. It means taking the same work ethic, discipline, and standards and applying them in a new arena. As a quick aside, I've been doing HR for the past 15 years. And I always keep a few open blocks on my calendar just to talk shop with other founders and leaders navigating these types of shifts. If you ever want to bounce some ideas around about your own team, there's a link to my calendar in the description, and my door is always open. Steel sharpens steel, and when ideas come together, they make us better. Which brings me to exactly why I wanted today's guest, Nova Sayarian, VP of Engineering at Radiance Solar. Nova has over 20 years of managing massive, high-stakes energy and infrastructure projects. But what makes this conversation powerful isn't his technical expertise, it's his reinvention. He didn't break into solar because somebody handed him an opportunity. He earned it by training, volunteering, and putting the tool belt back on when most other people wouldn't. So as you listen, pay attention to a few themes that show up throughout this conversation. Reinvention requires humility, or being willing to earn credibility all over again. Collaboration beats command. The best teams are built through ownership, not ego. And grit compounds over time. The extra reps, the unglamorous work, the refusal to quit. That mindset matters. If you're leading teams, navigating industry shifts, or thinking about your own next evolution, this episode will land. Nova, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to it.
Hey, I am too, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you a little bit better, and to learn more about Radiance Solar, and maybe we can just start there. Nova, can you tell me a little bit about your role at Radiance Solar, and what do you do?
Sure. I'm the VP of Engineering for Radiance Solar, and Radiance Solar is a medium-sized company. I think I would say 50 employees, and we're EPC, which means engineering, procurement, construction. We do from beginning of the life of the project to the end of the project, right? So we get the project designed, we procure all the materials, we do the construction and the commissioning, and turn it on, give it to the client, and then of course we also have an O&M division which does maintenance and operation on the project for the life of the project.
Nice. So
And
it's really end to end. Then you're
yeah,
delivering the solar upgrades, and then you're also maintaining them throughout the life cycle.
right. And they would sign a contract with us. We give I want to say a 2 year, or depending on the contract, how it's set up. And then after that, if a customer wants to do O&M separately, then they could do that through our company. Um,
Mhm.
we do projects ranging from, let's say, 1 megawatt to about 10 megawatts.
Okay.
And we do commercial rooftops, we do ground mount systems, and we also do solar structures. So we have our own solar structure division that does, we sell our own product basically, and we design it in-house, fabricate it, and sell it. And we sell it to either a customer can buy it and install it themselves, or they can have us install it or give them support to help them install it.
Got it. A question for you, because diving into the solar landscape, is a little bit new for me. And so I work primarily in utilities where everything is custom designed, right? So the engineering team is primarily concerned with, all right, we have this city that we have to supply power to, right?
Mhm.
Or gas to. We need to literally from the ground up design how we bring in, whether it's the megawatts or pressurized gas, and deliver it to the city. So from a solar perspective, when you're going in and designing or engineering solar projects, like what does that look like from end to end? Is it kind of using some of the materials that you already have available to you, or is everything essentially being designed from scratch?
No, no, it's we use materials off the shelf, so kind of make them work. But we got to break that into two parts. So when we're doing a solar site, let's say into a CNI or commercial industrial location, we know what their power is, what they're looking for, and then what we can actually design to that gear and give them the power that they need or the usage that they need so they can offset their bills, right? If you're going
Right.
to a site where it's a solar site that there's brand new, what we saw community solar or distributed energy, right? Then that becomes completely from ground up. When we're dealing with there is the actual utility line size and what we can install on that utility, and if the utility will accept the amount of. Normally, that is all done beforehand, and it's approved by utility saying that, yeah, you can go ahead and install this many megawatts on this line, and we approve it, and then we design from there. A lot of the materials that we get are it's kind of custom built, but we built it through modular pieces of equipment to make it work. Some of
Cool.
our gear is custom ordered, from let's say switch gear that needs to be a certain size or certain breakers need to be placed in them, but they're not as like you were saying as doing a brand new city, or it's different, right? It's
Right.
kind of working with what we have and using the products to kind of get it in together.
Got it. So when you're designing, a solar field, right, or rooftop solar for a commercial building, what's the always the hardest hurdle for you to go from initial conception to completed design ready for execution?
Two factors. So when it's a roof, you have to make sure that the roof can handle the load of amount that you're putting in on top of it.
Didn't think of
Because
that. Makes
yeah,
sense.
so because you're adding more weight of modules, the racking, the wire. Some companies want you not to penetrate the roof, so you're using
Mm,
ballast blocks, which are concrete blocks you place into it, so there's no penetration, so that the system is kind of standing on its own with weight. So that's a lot of added weight when you're adding all these blocks, all these modules. So first thing you have to kind of look at is this: look at the get a structural engineer to evaluate the building and say, yeah, we can do this. Second,
okay.
on that same structure would be, is the switchgear capable handling the existing switchgear? Can it handle the amount of solar that we're trying to put in? Or do we do a line side connection, or do we tap into a transformer? So there's a couple of hurdles to kind of go over. Um, Now, ground mounts is a little different. The ground mounts we're looking at more of environmental issues. Can we
Mm,
install the solar site on this site? Are we impacting any kind of environmental concerns? Are there um, wetlands, or is there any kind of a living creatures that need to be protected? These are all kind of the big hurdles that you kind of go through. Are there trees that are protected? Do some states there's protected trees? You can't just go in there and remove trees whenever you
right.
want. So there's a lot of hurdles like that before you even get to the point. Once you pass that point, the solar building is pretty simple. It's just there's a lot of what you want to call front end work to get that process approved by jurisdictions or agencies, and then if let's say if you're building by an airport or something like that, there's glare studies, there's impacts of how do you affect airplanes as they're coming down, is the glare going to affect them? These are a lot of concerns when you run through them. So there's a lot of hurdles. Sometimes we don't see those. Sometimes those are done way before
Mm,
us, and they're kind of pre-approved because a customer will go out and pre-approve a site before they get it to us. So that means we're just doing the finish it up and get it installed and get going. So because it'll take sometimes 1 or 2 years before all those processes can be achieved.
wow. And so you're pretty much taking all the work that they've done up front, they've laid out the constraints, and then you're
Sure,
designing within the confines of those constraints.
sure, sure. Yeah, we have to
Okay,
follow
cool.
AHA recommendation,
Okay.
environmental recommendations. These all have to be taken in effect. And these are all given to us before we even start the project.
Very fascinating. It's cool getting into this solar world. And something interesting that we talked about during our first connection was like, you haven't always been in solar, right? Like,
Oh,
if you
no.
look at your resume, this
No,
is a
not at all.
relatively recent advent, right? Like, you were in the housing sector for a long
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
right?
I
You were
was,
doing director of purchasing.
yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that, your early career, because like everything that you're rattling off, obviously I can tell that you're an expert in solar, and you have to be an expert in solar if you're the VP of engineering. You're helping with the design work that the
Yeah.
execution team is going to take and build in the field, right? But you didn't start there. So you
No.
started out, where did you start your career?
Well, so I started out when I was 19 working for electrical engineering firms doing large oil refineries, right? That's I was a draftsman and designing and getting oil refineries, building airports. And then the industry died. There was issues. A lot of our work were mostly overseas, like in Saudi Arabia, Alaska. There was issues happened politically. Things went sour. We got laid off. People shut down. So from there, I was still doing drafting and design. I started working in construction. I was licensed contractor. So I got into building houses and remodeling and stuff like that, and had a small business that didn't go very well. So we had a basically remodeling roofing company with a couple of partners. So that kind of went to the wayside. So I got into working for firms doing construction. I started as
Mhm.
procurement manager and then worked my way up to vice president of design and engineering and procurement, right? And that's where I
Okay.
started, and then went from there. Then I was there for a while, but the industry crashed again, right? 2008, 2010, it just took
Right.
a dive. Everybody who was in the industry just stopped, couldn't get a job. So it's always been a roller coaster in the construction industry, whether you're feast or famine. And so we wrote it out pretty good. Then once it died, I was like, okay, what do I do? Where do I go next? I was a
Yeah.
licensed contractor, so that's good. So I had jobs. I could bid jobs on my own, but even then, people weren't. Everybody was going in foreclosures. They didn't want to spend money. I tried going out to Southern California to work and do jobs there. Figured, oh, there's a larger area, more money, more people. Well, now everybody was just stingy and worried about their jobs. About half the people in the United States didn't pay their mortgages, so it was a bad time.
It's a
So,
bad time.
yeah, so I said, okay, what do I got to do? How do I reinvent myself? So I heard there was a couple of friends working for a solar company, and they go, "Man, we're looking for people, and you got the background, you got the skill, come work for us."
Yeah.
Every time I
Yeah.
applied, they would say, "Oh, you don't have any solar experience. We can't hire you." Okay. Oh, yeah, but I'm an electrician. I know how to do this. It's no, no, you never worked on solar. Sorry, we're not hiring you. So it was in the beginning stages of solar. It was like people were really protective and they were wanted to hire people who knew what they were doing because everybody was learning at the time. We weren't
Right,
all
and this
experts.
was just remind the audience here, so this was around 2000, what,
I would say
12, 14,
2010, 2011,
2010? Okay.
2011, 2012, around that time. Yeah,
And the
2010,
funny thing
2011.
funny thing here is, like, you've been doing electrician and electrical work your entire career,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And they're not letting you on to solar jobs because you don't have solar
And
specific experience.
yeah, nobody would hire me. So what I did is
What
I
did you
went,
do?
well, I started looking into it. I figured I need some certification, right? So I
Okay.
went to Social Security and I said, I want you guys to train me for a new job, because they have that program. They're like,
Yeah.
sure, we need you to take a test and like an evaluation test and see what you can come up with. They said, well, you could be a hairdresser. You can work for you could you can work for a print shop. You could yeah, you
This
could
is
work
what I
as a
get after 15 years in the industry? Come
oh
on.
yeah, yeah, crazy. No, it was more than that. So oh, you could be a truck driver, which I got nothing against those. I'm like, look, lady, I have years of experience in construction.
Yeah.
I've been working on big utilities and I've done homes. I'm a licensed contractor. You want me to go become a hairstylist? I said, I can't do that. And look at my age. What am I going to do? She goes, well, what do you want to do? I said, I want to be trained in something else. And how can we do that? She goes, well, what do you want to be trained in? I said, I want to be trained in solar. I want to learn how to do solar. This is the upcoming thing. This is the market. This is what people are hiring for. How do we do that? She goes, well, we can't do that. It's not in our program. You only have to take the classes we have. I said, no, 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 that's not going to work. So she said, so, we talked about it. I talked to a supervisor. She said, okay, if you can get me proof that you can get a job for the solar industry, we'll give you the training. So I interviewed like 3 different solar companies and talked to their CEOs. I said, if I had A, B, C, D, would you give me a job? And they said, yes. And I said, how much an hour? They said, well, you could be making, let's say $25, $28 an hour. I was like, wow, that's great. And you can hire me. Yep. So I took back those letters to the Social Security, talked to the manager. They approved it. I was the only guy who got this approved at the time because there was no other people doing training for solar. So
Right.
I went
Relatively
to this.
brand new, right? I mean,
It
it
was
hit the
brand
market
new.
by
Yeah, it wasn't
storm.
even on the
This
books
was an
anymore.
alternative, right?
Yep. So I went to actually Bay Area for a school called Boots on the Roof. It's pretty, yeah. So it's kind of funny. And I was there and they paid, I think it was like $7,000-8,000 for my education. And I got hands-on training to learn about solar and
Wow.
about like from ground up, like what is a module, what is an inverter, what is racking. And then we did physical, installed a module and wired it. And so, kind of prepared us. So at the same time, when I was there, I heard about this company that was saying that, oh, if you want solar experience, there was a company called, it's still around, by the way, they do great work, Grid Alternatives. They install solar for homes for people who have low income, and they do it for free. They don't charge them any money. So I was volunteering over there and I would drive 3 hours. I would take my buddies who were all unemployed, and we would go 2-3 hours away. We drive to like different areas, and we would do somebody's solar on their house, and they would give us lunch,
Wow.
maybe
Wow.
some water, and we drive back. So that was money out of my pocket to drive back and forth just to get experience, just to say,
Wow.
yes, I've done solar, right? So I started applying for jobs. Now, every time I went to a job, they're like, oh, well, you do residential. We want commercial. So sorry, we can't hire you. I'm like, seriously, guys, this is crazy. This went on forever. Everywhere I applied, I got turned down. One day, by accident, a manager of a company called Synergy Power somehow got a hold of my resume, which I applied for like tons of time, and they didn't hire me for some reason. So this manager gets a hold of me. He's like, hey, I want to talk to you. Come on in. So I go in. I'm talking to the guy. He looks at my resume. He goes, you got more experience than I got. He goes, I've been doing electrical. Why are you applying for this? I go, well, nobody's giving me a job. He goes, okay, when can you start? I said, tomorrow. He goes, okay, report to so-and-so at this site at, 8 in the morning. No problem. I went up there with my tool belt. I went as a laborer, by the way. I went as a laborer, installer, not as a VP, not as a manager.
Yep.
So I had a tool belt on, and I wasn't young. So here I am coming from a VP of design and procurement to an installer. So I go out there, and the guy's who's there is way younger than me, and he goes, man, looking at your resume, you should be the boss. So he goes. He goes, get up on top of the roof, start working. So here it is. It's 110 degree out there. It's hotter than hell. We're working and I'm catching up, staying up with the guys. And next thing you know, after a while goes by, they promoted me to like, I think manager or some kind of superintendent or something. I did a job really well. They liked it so much. They promoted me to director of operation and I became the RMO, which is the responsible managing officer for the company, using my license as electrical license and building license to do jobs in California. And then we did jobs all over the United States, and I was there for a while and then moved on to some other jobs and it went to senior project manager position because I wanted to get into bigger utility scale projects. And then moved on. Next thing you know, this is where I'm at now. It
Wow.
slowly progressed. It wasn't easy, but it was, you don't
Yeah.
give up. You just keep trying. Eventually you'll get in.
Right. I love that. There were 2 things, don't give up, right? There were 2 things that stood out to me throughout that story. Like, number 1, like, that's the don't give up, grit.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean, from the start, that must have been a very difficult period, right? Where you're going from being the VP of design and now you're out there like, "Hey, I've gotta volunteer my time to get the experience in order to
Oh,
even
yeah.
land a job here." And then the other piece was, I mean, it kind of demonstrates a bit of your character. Like, I mean, the humbling I'm sure it was a very humbling time kind of working through going from kind of the top dog to now you're up on a roof
Oh,
sweating it
no.
out with some of the
Yeah.
laborers.
You might say
How
it
you know
was,
well,
but
I would just say that, like, not a lot of people, um, I've met people who have struggled to find a job, right? And it seemed like what you were willing to do was put in the work and the effort, regardless of what it took, for an extended period of time in order to get the experience that you needed to be
sure.
back where you are today.
Yeah. Oh, there was other stuff. They would say, "Oh, you don't have what do you call it? OSHA training." So I took that.
Okay.
You don't have this. I took that. So I tried to jump through hoops to get this. I was like, "Oh my god, so what else are you going to say next?" So I got
Right.
everything. So I kept taking test after test and class after
Wow.
class, and it was anyway, I wasn't working, so I figured I might as well get it done. And
Sure.
a 30-hour OSHA training class. I took it in 1 week. I sat down every day, did videos, finally got my OSHA. So when I went in to this guy, he saw that I had OSHA training. I had this, I had this. He's like, geez, you're ready to go, buddy. So
That's awesome.
it was pretty
That's
simple.
awesome.
But don't give up. You can't give up. You got to find a way around it. You got to find a way around it.
100%. And you're obviously a hard worker. And so now at your current firm, how do you get that out of your team, right? Because I'm sure there's still you can tell it just kind of in your voice, right? You're a very passionate person. You're very animated, and so very 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 likable, great storyteller, right? And I imagine that grit, that hard work ethic, is probably something that you instill in your teams at Radiance Solar. Is that an element
Yeah.
of what you would consider you bring to the table?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I tell everybody, and even when the teams when I was working in the field, I said I won't ask you to do something that I can't do. So
Mm,
there was times even as a VP of EPC in my last company, I would go out in the field with the guys and work. I would literally put up modules, I'd install stuff, or I get dirty with them. So just to let them know that look, we're not above you. We're a team. We got to work together. We got to get it done. That's the way it was. So that's the instillment I tell my people that I work with is if I can't do it, I'm not going to ask you to do it. It's what I'm asking you to do is all doable. So we just got to work through it. Maybe it's a little difficult. Maybe it's a challenging. Maybe it's something we got to learn. Maybe we have to go online and look at other videos or whatever we got to do. But it can be done. It's not unachievable. Nothing
yeah.
is unachievable, right?
Leading by example, and then you're a possibility thinker too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when you're working with your team, everything when you say something like everything is achievable, right? How do you trickle that down to the rest of your team to get them to believe it?
You roll up your sleeves with them and you get it down in the trenches with them. Like when we're talking about getting in the trenches, it doesn't mean that
Mhm.
you go out in the field and work with a shovel. But let's say we're talking about engineering teams, right? We just sit down and we hash it out and we start talking about, hey, if we did this, how about if we did this? And no idea is a bad idea, right? Any
Mhm.
idea that somebody comes up with is a good idea. Let's look at it because sometimes the smallest idea or the one that you think is the funniest probably works the best, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
so so we just kind of get down and we sit down and we talk about it, we discuss it, and we start looking at possibilities. What if we did
Mhm.
A or B? What if we did C or D? So that's what I'm saying in the trenches. It's not like, oh, just do it this way, or it's my way, or we're not doing it at all. No, it's where let's
Mhm.
talk about it. Let's see what's the best way. Let's find out what's going to work. Let's see what other products are out there. There's always a solution. It's never a now you also fight against time, right? There's time
Mhm.
involved, there's money involved. Is it something I need to have tomorrow? Maybe we don't have the time to go research stuff and trying to find a new product. And also, try to tell the team that, hey guys, look at these new products that are out, or look at this that came out. Maybe we can use this. Is this something we can use in the future? Keep that in the back of your mind, right? It's
Yeah.
never, oh, we have a laptop, we only use it for this. No, we have a laptop, let's use it for everything.
I love that. What I heard there was a bit of the visionary leader, right? Helping them broaden their horizons in what's available and what's
Right.
possible. And then also I heard this idea of fostering collaboration. Maybe it's even like a bit of trust, but verify, right? Where it sounds like you approach leadership from the perspective of your idea isn't necessarily the best.
Nope.
And
Nope.
so you
Right.
need your team to contribute.
Right. Right. And I tell them, I go,
Mhm.
look, I'm not I don't lead with the example, it's my way or the highway. I lead
Mhm.
with, hey, we're a team, let's talk about it. And like
Yeah.
I said, have you ever done, I think that they do this a lot in design, where you do rough sketches, right? Or thumbnails,
Yeah.
and you put
Yep.
them on the board and everybody critiques them. And the one
Yep.
everybody laughs about usually turns out to be the best one. So that's what it comes up about, right? Sometimes the
Right.
dumbest idea might be the one that's like, oh my God, this can work, right? For
Yep.
this scenario, this can work. It's never I don't think there is a right and wrong to things, right? There's always a right and
Mhm.
wrong. There's things you have to kind of make sure, 1 + 1 = 2. But
Oh,
sometimes
yeah.
how do you get one
Right.
plus one? Can you do half plus one still equals two, right? There's other ways of cutting it. It's not just 1 + 1. So there's always a way.
Absolutely.
There's 75%, 25%, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's why I said let's think about different ways. Let's find another way to go around this. Yeah, we're stuck. Yeah, we need this, but let's think it through. And I think it's also good when you have a collaboration with 4 or 5 people, 6 people. Somebody's going to
Sure.
come up with something. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not all going to just sit there and twiddle our thumbs. So somebody's going to come
Right.
up with something, even if it's a asinine idea. It might go, wow, that might work, right?
Yep.
That's my that's
Absolutely.
my that's my approach to things, right? It's not.
Yeah.
I don't have all the answers. I'm just here to kind of listen and become devil's advocate. I want everybody to be involved and let them be part of the equation. I don't want to be the only answer. I need them to be involved and have ownership of what they're doing, right?
Yeah. I love that. And what's interesting, Nova, is I don't know if you've ever been there, but I've worked on teams that have that collaborative atmosphere, and then also teams where, the manager, it's my way or the highway, and how
Yeah.
stifling that could be. I'm curious, how did you get to this point where you realize that, like, this is the best solution and this is the best way to approach it? Like, have you always felt that way, or
Well,
did you kind of have an evolution of mindset? I mean, you're an engineer by training.
no, not really. No, I'm not. I'm
Oh,
not
no,
a
not really.
no, no.
What was your
Well,
background in? What was
yeah,
your degree?
kind of. Engineer. I've been doing engineering since I was, like you said, design drafting since I was 19
Right.
years old. So it's
Right.
it's it's just the construction. I think it's just the training I've had in the design aspect of things to look at things a different
Mhm.
way. I've always been there's got to be another way. And I think working in construction in my own hands, I noticed that there's other ways of doing it. Plus, I learned from looking at other people who are older than me, who are more experienced than me, and I saw them doing it. Like a guy using a hammer, one guy uses it one way, the other guy flips it around, does it the other way. I'm like, oh, that can work, right? There is no right way to use a hammer, but he was probably getting it better done than that guy. So it's like you steal a little bit of this guy's technique, a little bit of this guy's technique, a little bit of this person's technique, and put them all together and get your own technique. It's almost like being creative and find a good solution. And there's so much stuff out there for people to do. There's especially now with AI, that's helping us, and
Mhm.
YouTube, and looking at videos and lessons, and there's so many ways people are doing the same thing and getting the same results. So why not copy them,
I think that's a great idea. I love that.
right?
And I'm sure that as you're trying to create this culture, right, you probably have some people on your team or some people who come into the organization and maybe are looking to you to give all the answers, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Or maybe things pop up in meetings where it's they shoot down the dumb idea that's on the board that's ultimately going to work, right? Like, how do you protect that culture in an environment where, as you grow, you bring, or as you have turnover, you're naturally going to be bringing new people in, and you want
Sure.
to maintain this collaborative culture?
I think you have to kind of stand behind the person or the idea and kind of
Mm,
explain it the best you can, saying this is going to work for these reasons. You cannot just go into a situation and say, yeah, this is the way we're going to do it, and not be able to have the backup behind it, because somebody's going to say, why is this a better way? So you have to have that backup, right? What is the backup? How'd you come up with this process? Well, like you said, you would say, well, A because of this, C because of this, D because of that. So
mhm,
that's the culture. Yeah, you're always going to get those people who come in and say, well, you're the boss. You tell me how to do it. And I want to get them involved, right? And I want to make sure that I like to, the more I think the people are involved in a project, the more they own it and the more they want
mm,
it to succeed. And the less they're involved, they're like, what? Nah, I don't care. It's not my job. He's the one who made the decision. Let him take that role. And we make that decision together as a team. On We talk about it and say, okay, we agree. This is a good decision. Yeah, let's move on with it. So we bring it in as a team. We discuss it as a team, and then I always, like I said, I encourage them to come up with ideas. I always say, what would you do? What do
mm.
you think? Or um, you know, if you were doing it, would you do it this way? So and and I always ask them again, devil's advocate. Okay, what about if this happens? What about if this happens? And they have to have an answer for me. It's not, well, I don't know. Well, go find out. Come back when you got an answer. It's a team effort, and it's hard. It's sometimes some people are not team players. So you have to look out for that too. Some people are shy. Some people don't want the
Mm.
responsibility. They don't want to be, I want more and more. I want to climb more and more. Some people don't. They just want to do 8 to 5 and go home. That's okay. That's fine.
Mhm.
And then we'll use that person's, what would you call it? Their work ethics to help us. So they could be good for doing, different other things that crank it out. Right.
I love that. I love that you bring that up because, I encounter that all the time too with, team members and then also stakeholders that we work with, right?
Sure.
You're gonna have the visionaries, the creatives who are gonna have the ideas, and I like how, you it seems like you've honed this ability, and it's something that I'm practicing, and I still have a lot of room to grow in, of instead of making statements, asking questions, because like, questions generate ownership and responsibility, because when you're giving your opinion, it's something that's vulnerable, but it's also like a muscle that you work over time. The more questions that you ask, the more answers that you get from your team, the more that they're invested in the project. So that was really cool. Hey, Nova, I wanted to hit on one thing
Sure.
because your career, um, is fairly unique in that you had two opportunities to basically work your way up from like an individual contributor to being a vice president, right? So before you started out as a design drafter, in oil and gas, kind of worked your way up through construction into like a VP of procurement. And then you got to do that all over again, which is like, I think, a pretty rare opportunity. That it's the happenstance that, God gave you to have this moment where you went from being an individual contributor and then now you're the VP overseeing a very large department. And I'm curious, was the second time around easier?
Yeah, I think so. It's always, I think when you go in and you have the skill level or the knowledge or I mean, you're confident with your answer, then you should be okay, right? But if you
Mm,
go in, let's say I lied on my resume and I said, I'm a doctor, I know how to do medicine. But if they put me in a situation where I can't answer aspirin between Tylenol,
yeah.
we got a problem. But I think when you know what you're talking about and you've done this and you have some experience, you can stand behind your uh, decision making, with confidence. And
Yeah.
and you can uh, negotiate with other people on what you're trying to do. It's not about but if you don't have the level, and two, really, sometimes there's been times where I've said, look, I don't know, I'm not an expert in this, I've never done this before, so I'm leave it to the expert to help me make a decision. So there's a lot of times where I can't always say that, hey, I know how to do this. Yeah, I do.
Sure.
I know solar. Yeah, I know panels. Yeah, of course. Yeah, but do I know, let's say, something that's not in my uh, field? I'm gonna literally say I don't know it. So then I start asking questions like, okay, what about this? How about this? How do you do this? And then I can make a decision based off the expert's advice, almost like, having a cabinet. They advise me, and I make a decision based on their experience.
Can we touch on that for a second? I'm very
Sure.
curious. Decision making. I mean, some of the best leaders that I know, they'll tell me, right? Like, I don't have all the answers. I surround myself with a team of individuals who have the answers,
Right.
right? I think that's a skill. That's a skill, like being able to ask the right questions. And then what you were saying earlier about ownership and responsibility, giving them the ownership and the responsibility to provide their expertise probably asserts, their own belief in themselves
Right.
and the skills and abilities that they have. So can you tell me a little bit about what that looks like when you're building out a team? If you're going into a new area, like who do you want to surround yourself with?
Well, to build a new team, it takes a little while, right? You got to go in first
Mhm.
of all and learn about your team. You got to know about what each person is bringing to this team. And like I said, not everybody is like that. So you got to use the weaknesses and their strengths to help you move the system along, right? Some people are great at going to meetings. Some hate going to meetings, and some like being involved. Some don't like being involved. So it just depends. So now you just you got to learn about them personally and find out what makes them tick and how to use their strengths and their abilities to the benefit, right? And help guide them bring that out. It's kind of a tough question to say, right? It's
Yeah.
a tough question to answer because there is no written how to do this. There is no ABC and how to do this. It's really learning about people, reading them, understanding them, and then guiding them to bring out more of themselves and become more open, right? To be able
Mm.
to contribute more. And that's the difficult part. That could take months.
Yeah, and I think you answered it. Yeah, I know you said you didn't answer, but I think you did. Getting to know your team members, right? What drives them,
Yeah,
what they're passionate about, what their strengths and opportunities are. That's how you approach, I guess, probably developing that level of trust, and then also figuring out, hey, like this is maybe part of your 3 to 5 year career plan. I'm going to give you an opportunity to go succeed here to get the experience that you need to be successful in your own career.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. Okay. All right, I got one more question for you, and then we'll kind of get close to a close out. But you're a solar guy. Solar incentives are going away.
Ooh.
What? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So is this the end of solar?
I don't think so. Look, this is a energy. We need it, right? We need alternative energy, no matter how you look at it. We're trying to get away from fossil fuels as much as we can. We need alternative energy. So there's always going to be a demand for it. Now, I think, in my personal opinion, we've been riding the coattails of the government to get these incentives for 20 years. Look, that's enough. uh, People are still going to get solar, people or look for alternative energy, because the cost of power, the cost of doing business is going up, and the utility prices keep creeping up every day. They're not stopping. I don't see this going away anytime soon. Will it slow down a little bit? Yes, I think it'll slow down a little bit, but I think what will happen is other states are going to come into the play. Right now, certain states are really a hot topic. Everybody's going there. Some states are not, but eventually they all come back. And with electric cars coming into the play, I mean, we're using electricity. There's just like crazy.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. So and businesses are definitely doing more work, especially now. They have these regulations coming in with tariffs going on China. There's more businesses are going to start popping up in the United
Mm-hmm.
States, which are going to require more power. Data centers are coming all over the country, which are, sucking up power, and those need to be supported. And whether we do it in solar, or do it with wind, or we do it with gas, or we do it with just some kind of alternative energy, and there's always people looking into how better to get power. What's the better way? What's the cheapest way? So it's always going to be there. I don't think it's going to go away. I think we have opened up Pandora's box, and it's going to continue to grow.
Mm. I love that perspective. Thanks for walking me through it. And I'm curious because you touched on something that's also really important: the price of electricity. Just it's going up everywhere. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm out in California. You're in California today, um, and how much we pay for electricity is becoming unsustainable. Right?
yeah.
What role does solar have to play in helping bring the cost of electricity down over time?
Well, it's if you're talking about a business, it's operating 8 to 5. The
Hmm.
solar is out there producing what you need. That's going to bring down your bill drastically, right? Depending on the amount of space you have to put this product in. Do you have the property? If you're, let's say, in middle California, there's plenty of property. You want to put a 2 megawatt, sure, why not? It'll help you reduce that bill. So it, it's it doesn't go away. That's what I'm trying to say. It's always going to be there. This price of solar, the price of power going up is because it's harder to get this, right. So that your bill will definitely reduce. Uh, is it by 50%? Is it by 100%? I couldn't tell you, because it's all depending on the job, right. It's
Sure.
people like, let's say, businesses that are open 7 days a week, 365 days a year, like the big supermarkets, or um, the giant box stores that are open 7 days a week. Well, they're using power all day long, right?
Yeah.
So they can't stop. So at least if we can offset the bill for 4 or 5 hours a day, it's better than what it was. Let's say at nighttime they can't, but now, of course, there's batteries coming into play, and that's another aspect of it. Yeah, they could start offsetting bills. Can they reduce demand charges? Maybe, maybe not. But at least the normal bill can drop down a little bit, right? Even a 20% savings could be better than zero, right?
Yes.
So,
100%.
let's say on your house, you put it on your house and you got solar, and you're in the daytime, you're at work, solar is over there. Maybe you work from home. Let's change that. Let's say you're a
I
person.
do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you work from home. You're using electricity. You got a studio there. Electric power is being used. If you had solar, your meter would be kind of evening out. You'll be going backwards. So you'll be probably using less solar and pushing some back to the grid, or using it in house. Or you have the AC on. Before used to turn off the AC because it was too expensive. We would turn it on at
Right.
nighttime when we came home. Now with
That's
solar,
right.
people are leaving their AC on all day long, because
Yep.
it's like, oh, the sun is giving it for free, so why not, right? I'm just going to pay for it at night. At least when
Right.
I come home at 5 o'clock, my house is cooler. So
Right. Or with so many people working in a hybrid environment, right? Where they're home,
exactly,
I'm home most days of the week. I do go into different offices and meet with clients, right?
sure,
But I'm home the majority of the time, whereas before everybody was in the office. And so maybe you turn down, you turn up your thermostat when you're out, turn it back
exactly.
down when you come home. Everybody's at home most of the time now.
So
So the
now,
need for electricity is there.
yeah, take that for you, for instance. If you take your bill and you can cut it by 50%, would you be happy?
Yeah. Sounds
Okay,
great.
see,
I'm
and
in.
that's exactly. So I'm saying you don't have to cut it by 100%. That's the
Right.
secret here. You don't have to go 100%. But even if you cut it 50%, if you're paying, let's say, $300 a month in utilities, and you can cut it to 150, you're going to do it. That's the
Absolutely.
alternative. Whether you're doing it through equipment, or through the solar, or maybe turning off lights or whatever. Now people are doing, there's so many things going on. People are doing LED lighting that's helping. People are putting
Right.
in newer appliances that can help. People are changing their schedule to do things more on off peak hours instead of peak hours. I think we've learned a lot from solar. Like before, I didn't know what peak hours, off peak hours were. I didn't care. But now I'm like, geez, don't charge your car.
Yeah.
Of course, charge your
Right.
Tesla after one
Right.
o'clock at night when it's
That's
off peak
right.
hours, right? So
That's
these are
right.
the things, even for instance, if you have an electric vehicle and you want to charge it, right? You're charging it
Mhm.
in daytime. You put in batteries. That's even better because now the batteries will charge from the solar instead of from the grid. Now, when you come at night and plug in your car gets to get charged through the battery, or your air conditioner is running off the batteries. I mean, there's a lot of ways to do this. It's
Right.
it's unbelievable.
And that prolongs the usefulness of the solar energy that's being generated, right? It's basically
Exactly,
gives you that longer time
exactly.
horizon.
And
All
of
right.
course, as
Oh, go
price
ahead.
going up every day, this is going to make it even sweeter option.
Absolutely. I would love to save 50% on my energy bill. And so maybe I should look into getting solar installed on my roof.
Exactly.
Um, yeah,
We
I
drive
like it.
we drive, let's say, like 5 miles to save on 10 cents worth of gas,
Right.
right? Why do
Isn't that dumb? I know.
But we won't
That's
put
a
we won't
1
put
point.
solar.
We're
Yeah,
saving
we won't put
2%.
solar in our house because we'll save 50%. Seriously, guys, you drive 6 miles, 10 miles to save 10 cents,
That's
but
how
you won't put
irrational we
solar to
are.
save go 50% lower. Why not? I
That's
mean,
the that's that's the
it's
problem with
unbelievable.
making decisions with our heart instead of our head, right? Yeah.
Well, they look at the big number, they go, "Well, Jesus, $30,000 for solar, and I'll never pay it off." And yeah, you're right, but once you do pay it off, commercially, it works really great because they get to pay it
Sure.
off quicker because their bills are much higher, right?
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so Nova, if people want to get a hold of you, how do they get a hold of you in Radiance Solar? Do they go to your website? What's the best
Yes.
way to get in contact with your company?
Yeah, Radiance Solar, radiancesolar.com. We're
Okay.
located in the state of Georgia. We do work all over the East Coast. We do most of
Awesome.
our work east of Colorado. So we
Okay.
do large projects, mostly commercial work. If you need more of a residential builder, I would look at your local builders. They're going to be way better than what we would be. We're in a different market than most, so it's different. But yeah, Radiant Solar, uh, and you can see Nova is on there. Just click on it; you'll be able to reach me. I'll be happy to help and answer any questions I can.
Awesome. Thanks, Nova. And then the last question that I have for you, and I always ask my guests, right? So you have had a pretty awesome career.
Yeah,
It was fun, unexpected,
it's not over
but
yet.
awesome.
Not over yet.
It's not over yet.
Still continuing. I'm still continuing. Still
Choose
reaching
my
to the top.
words.
Yeah.
That's right. Choose my words wisely. He's on it. He's listening today. Man, you're living in Georgia. You're out here in California. It's almost 3 p.m. in the afternoon, and you're still going full speed. I love it. So we've got what I try to ask my guests is, you're the VP of engineering for this firm, Radiant Solar, right? You've rebuilt your career twice,
Mhm.
which is such a cool story. What's that one piece of advice that you would give to other leaders who are currently building their careers?
Oh, that's a good one, man. Look, go after it like you want it. So try to, if you want something, let's say you want to become a bookkeeper, right? You want to become the VP of some accounting firm. Get in on the ground level. Get your foot in the door, even if it has to be the person doing, I know, data processing, and then work your way up. People are going to see that. People are going to see you got skills. They're going to see that you're a go-getter, you're working hard, and you know more. When I got into this, like you said, people noticed that, hey, I have more experience than what I was showing, and because it shows in the way you conduct business, right? So don't stop. I mean, just get your foot in the door however you can. Do take whatever tests you got to take to go join a organization that has this particular item that you want, and learn about it, become an expert on it, or become passionate about it, right? It's all about passion. And then start working through it, right? Learn about the things, what started it to make it interesting. Find out how it got started. And that makes you more interested about wanting to do more, right? That's how
Awesome.
you got to do it. You just gotta be passionate about what you got to do.
I love that.
What we do is not an 8 to 5 job.
Yep.
What we do is you got to really have passion for what you do.
Go after it like you want it.
That's it.
Love it.
Go any way you can to get to it.
Nova, this has been a blast, man. I
Yeah,
learned a
it's fun.
lot.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Looking forward to having this air. It'll be fun.
All right. Awesome.
Thank you, Greg.